Welcome back, students. Today we are going to discuss about functions or methods in Java. So in this class we are going to study what a function is and how to define a function. So just consider an example. Consider a mobile. So most of you know that nowadays we are using dual slot mobiles, isn't it? That is mobile phones with the facility of handling two SIMs in it. But in earlier days, we know that each mobile has a single slot in it. Just consider, suppose we are going to a place with our earlier phone. If one SIM is not working, that is if our slot with the SIM doesn't work, and if you are carrying another mobile phone in our hand, it's very difficult to handle all these things, isn't it? And also for buying two mobile phones is also not affordable. So in order to overcome all these difficulties, companies introduce dual slot mobiles. The advantage is that we can use two SIMs in one mobile. In Java program also, we are writing programs. So when we are writing a program, we know that it consists of a group of statements in it, isn't it? That is, in order to do same things, just consider, suppose we want to do same things in one program at different stages of that program. We have to write that same program statements again and again. So in order to overcome all these things, that is, we can reduce the program states. That is, whichever program states are repeated, those program states are to be converted as a block or as a function. So wherever it needed, we can use it. Okay, this is about functions. So actually functions are set of statements to perform a specific task. Just consider another example. Consider a banking system. So there are several functions are happening in a bank, isn't it? That is withdrawal, registration, then deposit, taking a new account, etc. So there are different sections for all these things, isn't it? So that is a large system works with all these small subsystems, isn't it? So in order to perform a specific task, we are using functions are similar to banks. So just consider this program. So this is a set of program statements. So you can see that it's a program statement. That is for int I equal 1, I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. Then in the for loop, in sum equals sum plus I. Then close it. Then after that, system.out.println sum. So this is a program for printing sum of n numbers. Suppose just consider in the same program if you want to find sum of m numbers. So again we want to write the same codes, isn't it? So in order to reduce all these things, we can consider what are codes we are repeating in the same program again and again. We can consider it as a function. So wherever the particular statement to be used, wherever the function to be used, we can call the function over that program. So next we will study how to declare a function. So this is the syntax for declaring the function, that is access specifier, return type, function name, parameter list. Access specifier, return type, function name, parameter list. Just see with an example, that is public void addition int a comma int b. So here this access specifier means public is the access specifier we used. So in Java there are mainly three types of access specifier are there. That is public, private and protected. So suppose we are declaring the access specifier as public. The meaning is that, suppose just consider if a class we have written, so if there is one more class in the program, in the same program, so the class members or data members of the other class can access the functions and variables of the first class. So at that time we are declaring the access specifier as public. So private means, when we declare the access specifier as private means, in the sense means only the data members of that particular class can only access the functions of it or variables declared in it. Protected means, just consider there is a superclass and there is a subclass. Then the subclass can access or inherit all the properties of superclass. At that time we are declaring the functions as protected. So I hope it's clear for you. So access specifier in Java are of three types: public, private and protected. So in most of our programs we declare the access specifier as public. Next one is return type. Here you can see that in this particular function declaration, the return type is void. Void means nothing. So usually return types may be declared as, the default return type is void. Sometimes we may declare that a return type as primitive data type, that is int, long, all those things. The date type, primitive data types may also be used as return type. So this is about return type. Next one is function name. So here the function name is addition. You can see that. So whatever rules we have followed for declaring a variable, all that rules should be followed for declaring the function name also. So when you are declaring the function name, don't give a space between the words. So whatever rules you followed for declaring the variable, that should be followed, and don't give keywords and all those things. Okay. Next one is parameter list. So here you can see that there are two parameters. Parameters means the values or arguments passed to a function, that is known as parameter. So here inside this function we have passed two arguments or two variables. That's a and b, and both of integer type. So you can pass any number of parameters to a function. So usually functions are of four types, that is function with argument and a return type, function with argument and no return type, function without argument and return type, function without argument and no return type. So here this function is function with argument and no return type. Why we are saying the no return type? Because here you can see that the return type is void. So we can say function with the argument and no return type. And next one is about the return type. So return type means the result or outcome of this particular function. That is known as the return type. Result or outcome of the function. Clear? Just consider this example. Here we have declared a function. So when we are declaring a function, the very first line of the function, this is known as the function header or function declaration. So we know how to declare a function, that is access specifier, return type, function name, parameter list or argument list. Here public int addition int a comma int b. Inside the function, so when we are declaring a function, after the function give a curly brace. Inside that we are declaring the statements. So inside that int sum equal a plus b. We are going to find the sum of the two arguments passed to the function. So the arguments we pass to this function are a and b. Clear? And the result of these two things, a and b, is stored in the variable sum. So here you can see that the return type here we return as int. So when there is a return type of primitive type is given, you should use the keyword return in the function body. So here we have used the keyword return. Then what to be returned? Value inside sum. So give a bracket and give the variable sum. Whichever variable we want to return, give that. So we know that when seeing this return type, we know that what is the data type of sum? Int. So here you can see that the return type is integer. So when the return type is of primitive data type or any other data types, there should be a return keyword inside your function. So I hope this is clear for you. Next. So here you can set public void addition int a comma int b. Inside the function int sum equal a plus b. system.out.println sum is plus sum. Here the very first line of function is known as function declaration. So inside that we have define our function. So this is known as a function body. This is known as function definition. So here you can see that the return type is void, isn't it? So inside the function we can see that there is no return keyword over here. So here we have simply printed the value of sum, isn't it? So a function mainly consists of two parts: function header or function declaration and a function body in it. Next thing, so some points to be kept in mind while declaring a function. So next one is public void addition of int a comma b. This is wrong. Why we are saying it as wrong? Because the variables or parameters used in the function should be used inside the function body and it should be declared separately. That is, here you can see that for variable a we have declared the type. For variable b, if we are not declaring the data type, it is wrong, because our function, whatever arguments coming to that function, our particular function doesn't know the return type. If you are not declaring the data type, the function doesn't know what is the return type of that particular variable. So when you are passing an argument to a function, you should declare the data type separately. If the data type of both these variables are integer, don't declare int a comma b. Similar to variable declaration. So you should declare the data type separately. So this is wrong. That is, instead of that you should declare public void addition int a comma int b. So when we declare a function like this, addition, if you want to do the addition one more time in your program, so we can call it, isn't it? We can use it and we can call it wherever needed, isn't it? So when we are calling a function, the format to be followed at function name, and after that put a parenthesis and give the values to be called inside. This is known as function calling. This function calling is also known as function signature. So if you are using the function calling several times as to our requirements, it's not a problem. So you can call the function wherever you require. So the function calling, this is known as function calling. That is from the line itself you can see that addition. This is the name of the function and there is no return, just calling of that function with the values. So here the values passed to this arguments we pass to that a and b of integer type. So we have passed the values directly. So this is known as function calling. It is also known as function signature. So we can also call the function like this also, that is int p equal to q equal 4. So here instead of values we pass the argument. So don't give the variables a and b. Here when we declare the function, the values passed to the function are a and b. While calling this function, don't give the same value. Give another variable, because the reason is that when we declare a variables for a function, here a and b are the variables declared for the function addition. So the possibility or the hold of this variable only belongs to this function. These variables can't be used outside the function. So while calling these functions, give separate names, another name. So I hope it's clear for you. We have already studied all these things. So this is about function declaration. So next we will study the different features of return statement. So here we have, I didn't write the function declaration. Here we have declared, just consider a function. And inside the function we have declared a set of statements. Here we have declared int s equals 0, s equal m plus n, return as p equal m minus n. So here we have declared a statement like this. After the return statement we have written p equal m minus n. This is wrong. That is, when we return the value, return a value, in the function, when we use the return statement, whatever statements that comes after the return statement, it won't be considered. So this is a very first feature of return statement. So whatever statement that comes after return, it won't be considered. So this p equal m minus n, this statement will not be considered in Java because it comes after return statement. That is statements written after the return statement will not be evaluated. That is, we should use only one return statement inside a function. So according to the program, it may varies. So in some other situations, we use more than one return statement that we will see in the later section. So just consider this another example. So we have declared a function int. Inside the function int s equals 0, s equal m plus 1, p equal m minus n, return s comma p. So this is also wrong. So it is no, because it is not possible to give more than one variable inside the return statement. So here m plus n equal s and p m minus n value is assigned to p. So we can't return the value of both these variables. Only one variable's value can be returned. So this is wrong. So by using return statement, we can return only one variable value. So next case, int s equals 0, s equal m plus n, p equal m minus n, return as return b. Here you can see that two return statements are there, return as return b. So only the first return statement will work. The reason is that, what is the reason? Because when you use a return statement, whatever statements comes after that won't work. Clear? But there are certain cases in which we are using more than one return statement inside a function. Let's see what it is. So all of you know about decision making statement and all these things. Consider this situation. Public int large of int a comma b. So here we have declared a function large to find the largest among the two numbers. So here we have checked a condition by using if else, if a greater than b. If the condition is true, we should return the value of a. So the return type of a is integer. So we have returned else return b. So in this case, in this type of case, we can use return state more than once. So according to the programming statements also, this may varies. But in normal case, we have used only one return statement in our program. So I hope this is clear for you. Next, one more thing in return statement, that is, consider this case for int I equal 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. Consider this case. So here the program is for printing the numbers from 1 to 10. So inside the for loop, we have checked a condition, that is, if I greater than 5, return I system.out.println I. Clear? So here what happens is, when the value of I equal 1, what we check inside, we come to the loop, that is 1 greater than. If this condition true? No. So since the condition is false, we won't return the value of I. We didn't return the value of I because the condition is whatever comes after that, we won't execute it. So what is the next thing? System.out.println of I. We will print the value of I. What is the value of I? 1. Again we go to the loop, increment the value of I, that is I becomes 2. That is 2 greater than 5. Condition violates. We won't return the value of I. We will print it. If 2 will be printed, then I will be incremented, that is 3. Condition will be checked, 3 great. It's all wrong. We won't return the value of I. Then we print it. Then I will be incremented, I becomes 4. We will check the condition, 4 greater than 5. This is wrong, we won't return it. We will print it. 4 will be printed. Again go to the statement. I will be incremented, I becomes 5. The condition is wrong, we will print the value of I. So we print from 1 to 5. So again we go to the for loop, increment the value of I. Now the value of I becomes 6. So we will check the condition. That is if I greater than 5. That is, what is the value of I now? 6. 6 greater than 5. Return I. If the condition is true, since the condition is true, we will return the value of I. So we will return the value 6 for this function. So all this value will be printed and 6 will be returned. So when we return the value, what happens? The statement after the return statement won't be executed. So 6, that is values for I, that is 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. All these values will not be printed. From 1 to 5 only it will be printed. So return statement is used to finalize the statement. So these are the things to be kept in mind while declaring the return statement. I hope you get the brief idea of this functions and return statement. So we will continue with a new topic in the next class. Thank you.